Hey, Curtis.
Hey Oz,
What do you have for us this week?
this week as we close out, is it a Christmas movie month? I think we have the penultimate, is it a Christmas movie?
Mm-hmm.
So this week we've got Moonlighting meets Family Matters, with a heaping scoop of Rambo, and How the Grinch Stole Christmas. This,
Oh,
this week we've got Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Die Hard. How angry do you think the Bond franchise was that this title was stolen out from underneath them? Like, not officially, but Die Hard is such like a Bond movie title.
Yes, it does seem very, very
That
Bondish.
yeah, it's like, because how does one die hard? Like,
It's like
I don't.
walk hard with Dewey Cox.
Yeah, right. But it's like, it's like that's an adverb that doesn't really fit the verb. Like,
Hmm.
oh, I heard he died. How'd he die?
He died
Hard.
hard. He had a bad case of hard.
Right. Oh, I meant like, was it cancer or it is natural causes?
It's
No,
hard.
it was
It's
hard.
hard.
It was hard.
That's how he died. He died hard.
Stung by robotic bees. Like, it was hard.
Right of the pupils.
Right? Heard he fell into like a car compactor. He died hard.
While being bit by a shark.
As he was
died.
as
He died hard.
Speaking of shark, my children are irritated. I
Mhm.
showed them a movie trailer for a movie that honestly I thought was a real movie. The movie trailer was garbage, but I thought somebody put the trailer together. It was it was the movie is called Sharkantula versus Snakeorpion.
Just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, it is like below trauma level bad. Or trauma, not trauma. It
That
is
too.
it's
You get trauma
terrible.
after watching it.
Right. And so I showed my daughter the trailer, and it really excited me because she's like, I kind of want to see that movie. It looks so bad. And then I can't find it anywhere. Like, it's not out. And I'm like, oh man, because it was bad. It's like a guy's like, hey, I have a green screen and I have a free trial to like Adobe Premiere. Let me see what I can throw together before my trial
I
expires.
got 29 days to make magic happen.
Oh, it's something. So, well, welcome back. We seem to have jumped into the show.
Why not?
Yeah,
That's how
it was
we
a-
do
it
things
was a-
here.
Well, with the weather around here, it's important that we have a cold open.
Yeah. Well, and I'm ill right now, so I mean, who
Oh,
knows where the show's gonna go? I'm
that's
hopped up on
what's-
goofballs, folks.
That's what I hear. I hear
Uh-huh.
that you're ill.
I hear.
Well, welcome.
Just had
You
to
don't
get
have
that
to cough. Don't cough. I'll make sure to throw in the Ferris Bueller sick keyboard sound effects all throughout the show, so you don't
Yes.
have to worry about it.
Yeah. Pity me, folks. Pity me.
Right.
Poor Curtis. She said
Oh.
poor Curtis.
Oh, right before Christmas.
Right before his birthday. Poor
Oh, that's
Curtis.
Anyway, like you mentioned, we are closing out. Is it a Christmas movie month?
Yes,
as
we
well
are.
as closing out the 2022 year
Yeah.
with Die Hard.
Yeah, at the time
Uh,
of this recording, we are just pre-holidays.
Yes, very much so. 2 days
Mhm.
prior to Christmas. So
Yes.
this will drop the week after Christmas, so everybody can come down off their sugar highs and feel miserable, because that's how I do every year. 2 or 3 days after Christmas, I've just crashed from all the sugar and I just feel terrible. And whatever. Tis the season.
You sleep for 36 hours underneath the tree, covered in
Right.
discarded wrapping paper.
I have my face is sticky. Like, I don't even know. I don't know if it's syrup or tape. It's just
Sap.
sticky. Sap.
It's the sap.
From my fake Christmas tree.
A lot of sap.
But we are talking about Die Hard this week. It is your movie. You'll be wrapping up
It
the
is
year.
my movie.
And again, like you said, it is the final entry into and really the basis for this month's theme of is it a
I think
Christmas
this
movie?
movie is really the one that people tend to argue about.
Oh, I think so
the whole
too.
theme. Is it a Christmas movie? We've done Lethal Weapon, we've done Gremlins, we've done Trading Places. There's, another 20 or so out there that you could look into this category. But I think Die Hard is the one that really kind of started off this whole like fake subgenre of movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And it's an exciting one that is worth diving into regardless. Like, you could watch Miracle on 34th Street again, or you could watch Die Hard for the first time.
Or you could watch Hans Gruber.
Yeah, I love Hans Gruber. I miss Alan Rickman. He was so great.
As I told Patreon subscriber Melissa L., second best film villain of all time, only to Bigger and McCracken from King.
Bigger and McCracken. Yep. We've discussed that as well.
Yes.
Yeah, Hans Gruber is dastardly.
Yeah.
It's like his mustache needs to be long enough to twirl, and it's not.
But he's so charming. Charming.
He is.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yep.
I got the vapors talking about Alan Rickman.
Well, not only that, but like you mentioned, a Patreon subscriber and listeners don't know what that is. You mentioned a cast member.
What's a Patreon?
So before we do jump in even further, because we're already six minutes deep into the show, we do want to give a shout out to Patreon subscribers Don S, Melissa L, Aaron A, and Mandy K. Thank you again for your patronage. And
'tis the season to have Patreons.
It is, and next month will be the season as well.
It's always the season.
Having Patreon, losing Patrons, man, it would feel like you're dying hard.
Is that going to be the bit? Is that going to be the bit for this whole show?
Man, it might be.
And if whenever I die, I hope I die hard.
Man, that guy that got shot in the kneecaps, man, he died hard.
That guy that covered himself in chum and jumped into prod-infested waters, he died hard.
Oh, man, what a hard death. What is a soft death? Oh, my God. That guy died at a national championships with the pillow fighting convention.
I'm just gonna explosion in a mayonnaise factory.
Somebody dropped 1,000 pounds worth of feathers on him. Man, he died soft. And the thing is, and he saw him coming for like minutes. Her feathers are just floated down to no. So, all right, I got a cast for this movie. Are you ready for him?
Let's hear this cast, Oz.
Bruce Willis, Alan Rickman, Bonnie Bedelia. I'm just going to read it.
Just read it right off.
Yeah. Bruce Willis plays John McClane. He's a New York City police officer, a New York City detective out in Los Angeles.
Fish out of water.
I don't know if I don't think he realizes he's rekindling a romance with his wife, but they're on opposite coasts for work reasons, and it's caused some stress. And like I said, his aforementioned wife, Bonnie Bedelia, playing Holly Gennaro McClane. She's an executive in the Nakatomi business of international stuff. It never really says what they do, but they're in some sort of international business,
some kind of brokerage, something or other.
Yeah,
kind of like Trading Places last week. Yeah,
right. I don't think it's commodities, but yeah, it's business. I think they sell widgets. Like, it's just plot devices is what they sell.
They sell the B flat keys on keyboards.
Yeah, just
that's it.
Cornered the market in it
on B flat keys.
I think the Dukes are trying to corner the market.
What?
So yeah, we've got the McClanes. Like I said, Bruce Willis and Bonnie Bedelia playing the McClanes.
Yep.
We have Alan Rickman playing Hans Gruber, the leader of the bad guys. A fake terrorist, but real just bank robber. And so that's, like I said, our good guys and our bad guys, and we got our in-between guys, which I mentioned pre-show. The movie, they do such a great job of incorporating into the plot the characters they've introduced us to.
Yes, I got a feeling we're going to be spending a lot of time, both during and at the end, talking about the supporting characters and just how amazing they are in this movie.
They're just perfectly cast, and their roles fit. not even actors, but the roles themselves, just they're perfect pieces. So I'm going to kind of go through them quickly. The first one we meet is Argyle, which I love that name.
Yeah.
Such a LA name.
Yes, yeah, it is. It's
played by Devereaux White. He's the limo driver that picks John up at the airport. Like, but he sticks around, and he has a reason to stick around, and it's a legit reason to stick around. It isn't like he's shoehorned into the plot. He's got a natural reason to be there.
He's doing his job.
And then we've got Reginald Val Johnson playing Al Powell. That's a hard name to say a lot. Al Powell.
Al Powell.
He's an LAPD sergeant. He's a desk jockey. Used to be a street man. Now you'll get into that with the plot.
Yes.
And those are really the good guys. We also have Paul Gleason back again this week.
Yeah, we do.
I know Paul Gleason made another appearance.
Yeah, it's the Paul Gleason month.
But not only that, but what's her name?
Mary Ellen Trainor.
Yes, Mary Ellen Trainor showed up again.
Yeah, a little cameo.
I was really excited to see that. And so, Paul Gleason's there. He's basically Al Powell's boss.
Yes, it's like a deputy police chief or something like that.
Yeah,
he's got a couple of the best lines in the whole movie.
Oh yeah. We've got a couple of FBI agents named Johnson. We've got Ellis, who's just this just quintessential 80s yuppie sleazeball, like
coked up.
Oh yeah, it just
like businessman.
Just epitome of what Hollywood wants you to think 80s yuppies were like. Like it just, I look at an actor like this, Hart Bachner is his name, and I look at him and I'm like, you played this role so perfectly. What did you do before and after? Because once the 80s were over, like. There's another actor. We'll get to it in a few months when we cover Chopping Mall. But he is like you look at him in the movie and you're like, this guy is like the dictionary definition of an 80s jock. Like and it's like it's almost like you were put on this earth to play this role, and it's like if you were born 15 years later, you would have had to know something different, because the look that you have doesn't fit any other era but this one. And that's how I feel about this guy too. Like, just perfect place at the perfect time.
Yeah, and you're supposed to hate the character.
Oh yeah, it's so easy to do.
He's like a wrestling heel. You know, like you're supposed to enjoy hating the heels, and I enjoyed hating the Ellis character.
Oh yeah, you do. You just, I mean, not to the point that for his demise necessarily, but you're like, oh, you do. You just, guy's just a sleazeball. Yep. And then there's a bunch of other people. I mean, William Atherton plays a TV reporter, and
did you get that?
Yeah. And like I said, there's just different people that are parts of Gruber's gang, and but they all play a role. But I'm sure you'll get into that as well. So it's like I said, there's a lot of cast, and they all matter, and
they do.
That's good to talk about. Like a lot of times, I feel like there's 1,000 people in a movie, and we're only talking about 4 of them. But this one, they all play a role.
Yeah, they do.
All right, I'm going to step back and let you let you take over.
Well, hey, we open up on kind of an interesting little scene. You're not in Nakatomi. You got an airplane landing as the opening credits are rolling. And I love the first real shot. It's of Bruce Willis's hand on a plane armrest. You clearly see his wedding ring, and he's gripping it. He's gripping it tight. And the guy next to him's like, "Yeah, you don't like flying, do you? Oh, what gave you that impression?" Right. And so this guy next to him gives him advice. You know what I do? I've been doing this for years.
9 years.
Yes. You find a rug where at the destination you land, and you take off your socks and shoes, and you ball your feet up into fists.
Yeah. Such a specific thing.
And in some weird ways, feet are a common theme in the movie.
No, they are.
And you get the feet right there. I
meant to. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
Nope. You're sick.
I will just very. That's right. I'm sick. Defer to me.
Yeah.
I will just very briefly say I forgot how good, and I texted you this yesterday. just how well the story is told in this movie. And it even in the first like 15, 20 minutes as they're kind of laying things out, like it's just pristine storytelling.
Mhm.
All right, what were you going to say, Az?
Well, and it kind of piggybacks on that. It shouldn't be surprising because the movie was directed by John McTiernan, who also directed Predator that we and I talked about just last month. And so we're already familiar with that style of storytelling. But the screenplay was written by Stephen E. D'Souza, which we've also talked about on the show several times, who wrote Commando and Running Man, two other movies that we've covered. And so, like, this is a territory that you and I have played around in a lot already just in the past few months. And so it's like we're mixed. It's like you mentioned in your movie marriage, it's almost like another like behind the camera type marriage of we're taking D'Souza's script and McTiernan's directing, and it's like when you're taking Commando and Running Man and mixing it with Predator, like it's Die Hard, and that not in plot obviously, but in terms of talent working together, this is what we get. And so it's no surprise
producing.
It's no surprise that we love this movie as much as we do.
So just some great story work here. They cut to a fancy party, and Takagi, who is the president of the Nakatomi Corporation out in LA, he's kind of addressing the crowd and like, thanks for coming, we've had a great year, have a great time. And as he's talking, the camera's kind of over his shoulder, and you see Holly kind of walk from right to left kind of through the crowd because she's still working. I love how the camera just kind of follows her. Right. Yeah, immediately just tells you this is an important character, and it's really her story in a lot of ways as well. Again, one of the other things in addition to the characters that I love about like the early parts of this movie is you get the literal lay of the land. Like you follow Holly into her office, which eventually is where Han sets up shop. You get it, like you get the like where like this lobby is, where like the bulk of the party is. You see Takagi's office. Jumping ahead just a little bit, like the camera sticks with McClane as he's kind of running around, whereas in a lesser movie it just cuts right to the big action sequences. But you get to know the environment, which again a lot of movies don't take the time to do that, and it really puts you in there with the characters.
Well, you may have read it in the trivia. I'm sure you did that. They 20th Century Fox produced the movie, and they filmed this in the Fox building out in LA. So it was still under a lot of construction, and so they paid themselves rent and filmed the movie in their own. Basically, it's almost like an indie film in a way. They filmed it in their own building, and so by doing that, they had their script writers basically go through the building and write the building into the script in some ways, and so. So little nuances like you're mentioning of like we really do get familiarized with the building prior to everything going on. Well, it's because they had that opportunity. This wasn't done on a sound stage or anything. It was, we've built this building, we've got all these empty floors, let's use them. And so it's I don't know, it's just for such a huge important movie, it really does have this like small budget. Like the budget to this was only like $30 million, like somewhere in that ballpark. And so it really was this kind of it's almost like it was designed to be one of these almost like not B movie, but just like a lesser known catalog type title. And it clearly wasn't.
Yeah. We learn that Holly and John are separated. She's got a picture of the family in the office, and she's kind of been hoping that John's going to come out. You get the impression they've been talking, but she wasn't 100% sure if he was coming. She asks her nanny to make up the spare room for him, and then she gets kind of frustrated because he hasn't called, and so she takes the family portrait of him and just puts it face down, which again, you immediately get the sense of tension.
Yeah, you could tell she's so like divided in where she wants her heart to go. Like she's dropped his name, she's using her own. But like you said, when she calls to check on the kids, and she's like, "Is Mr. McClane call?" Like she really, you could tell she still loves him and cares about him. But she's also like, you get the vibe she packed up and moved out to LA, and he didn't come with her.
Yeah, well, they're both
she's ready. Yeah, very stubborn.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They're both incredibly stubborn characters. Which, I mean, when it works great, but when it doesn't, yeah, you get two stubborn people trying to.
But we even, I mean, and you know, not jumping ahead, but we even get their little like their argument bickering scene where you could tell like it's so full of like hope.
Yeah.
And then he mentions dropping his name, and then as soon as he does, you could like he regrets it, but this is the path he chose, and because he's stubborn, I gotta ride it out.
Yeah, he doesn't back
I can't
down.
stop the argument now. As soon as it's over, he's beating himself up over it. And it's like, you know, it's such a weird, like, realistic persona to just, you know, personality trait to like, all right, I drew my sword, so now I got to fight. And I'm like, oh, you don't have to, like, but it's just how they are.
Yeah. So Argyle picks up McClane from the airport. Again, he's a hired limo driver. Takagi hired him to do it. So they're driving to the Nakatomi Plaza, and Argyle kind of gets John talking a little bit. You know, he reveals some more about his troubled marriage, and you know, we'll kind of see where things go. And Argyle's like, you know what, I'm gonna go park downstairs in the parking garage under the building. You know, you give me a call if things work out. So within a few minutes, you know, McClane's at the Nakatomi Center, and you know, and he's kind of that fish out of water. You know, he's the New York cop out here in L.A. And again, we get the lay of the land. He walks in, you see the two security guards on the bottom floor. The camera kind of, you know, walks with John as he makes his way to the elevator. He ends up at the party. Takagi greets him. You know, he knows who he is. You know, you can tell that Holly has talked about John to Takagi, and Takagi really respects Holly. You get the impression that Holly is very well thought of there. And Takagi's kind of doing his best to kind of butter up John a little bit and help him feel welcome, and trying to kind of relieve some of that tension that even Takagi knows is between John and Holly.
Yeah. You can tell that even though despite the fact that he's throwing a like company party on Christmas Eve night, you could tell. Other than that, like he seems like a pretty good boss. Like, I mean, everybody seems to enjoy their time there. He's taking care of them. You know, he talks well of everyone. But even just like you mentioned, the way that he's handling John and his fish out of water scenario, this is the guy. He's the leader of the company. Like, it shouldn't matter. Like this is a guy that could care less about it. But
he takes the time to talk with one of his best employees' estranged spouses.
Right.
So it also lends to, you know, how kind of, you know, respectable Takagi is as well. You know, we also find out at this point that Holly is using her maiden name, which is just salt in the wound for John. Again, they end up in Holly's office. Ellis is in there doing a bump of coke, guys. Because that's
Ellis has a full court press on. He's at the point where it's Christmas Eve night, and he's probably single, and he just wants a lady. And so, hey, Holly's right here.
Yeah,
hey, Holly.
I skipped over it, but prior to John arriving, he was hitting on Holly pretty hard as well.
Just because she was there, mainly.
Yeah. And so, you know, Ellis is like, check out, hey, Holly, show them the Rolex that I bought you.
Yeah, it's a Rolex.
It's a Rolex.
It's just a jerk. Hey, show him the watch. Not now, Ellis.
Scumbag.
Come on, show him. Just show him the watch.
An absolute scumbag, Ellis. John goes to clean up in it's like Ellis's private bathroom or Takagi's private bathroom or something. So he's cleaning up. He's wearing the iconic white sleeveless undershirt.
Yeah, like A-frame shirt.
Had taken his shoes off, and he was doing the thing with the rug and balling his toes on there. So, you know, they're talking, and she's like, well, you know, where are you staying? Well, I got an old buddy out here. I think I'm going to stay out. You know, I can make up the second bedroom. Why don't you come? I'll like it. The kids will like it. And then John brings up the fact that she's using her maiden name, as you said before, and the two stubborn bulls just lock horns.
Yeah, right. Just start. It's like you feel... I mean, I get where he's coming from.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I really do, because she made that choice, and it hurt his feelings. And, you know, it's like, I get where he's coming from.
Yeah, but that's not how and when and where you choose to do
that. No. Yeah, have your feelings hurt later.
Yeah. At this same point, a truck enters the garage, and a car pulls up to the first floor lobby, and we got some great menacing music playing.
Oh yeah,
you know that this truck and this car are up to no good, Oz. So two of the terrorists, the bad guys, was it Carl and Theo, walk into the lobby, and Theo is just talking a mile a minute. Man, did you see the Lakers game? Worthy to Magic to Kareem, and Carl just shoots one of the security guards. Just boom. and it was just that quick.
He comes in to be a distraction, and then he just hops over and starts his computer work.
Yeah, immediately starts hacking into their security systems. Starts locking down elevators. Is lowering security gates everywhere. Nobody's getting in or out. They take out the other security guard as well with like a little like hockey puck grenade thing that makes another appearance a little later on.
Right.
And then
these are well stocked bank robbers.
Yes, they are. And then
every possible contingency they were ready for.
The rest of the group that arrived in the parking garage via the truck, which Argyle did not notice because he was too busy jamming out the music.
And hanging out with a teddy bear.
Hanging out with a big stuffed teddy bear. Shut up.
Like, Argyle went from like, wow, what a really cool limo driver, to like, what a troubled young man.
Yeah. He's in the back drinking booze and making phone calls.
With a teddy bear.
Yeah. And then we see Hans Gruber for the first time, Oz. He walks in with the rest of their crew, dressed to the nines. He has got on a very fancy, well personally tailored suit. Not that I know too much about such things, but Hans does, as he later reveals to Takagi. Holly had gone off to make a speech, and John, who's still back in this bathroom, hears gunfire. What is going on? He kind of peeks his head out, and he sees several of these guys out there just firing, automatic machine guns into the air to scare these people, get their attention. He pulls his gun, but kind of thinks wiser. He ends up ducking through an emergency staircase, to kind of live to fight another day here.
So, he didn't want to die hard yet.
No, didn't want to die hard.
Yeah, had he pulled his gun, he probably would have died hard.
We do get I made a note here in all caps just to make sure I mentioned it. They're going office to office clearing people out, and we get a gratuitous 80s topless shrieking blonde.
Yeah, there she is.
There she is. She's in a lot of 80s action movies, folks, and she's in Die Hard as well.
Yeah. Yep, she's there.
She's there.
And they're always like, I don't know. I wasn't old enough in the 80s to know what it was like then.
Yeah.
But it always seems like they still have clothes on, but just not covering.
No. She was clothed from the waist down.
Yeah,
she clearly was not from the waist up.
Yeah, the dress that she had on was just unzipped and pulled down over her arms. So she's like, I want to whatever.
Make sure you kind of jump around as you run out of the room too.
Yeah, right. If you can give us a little washing machine action on your way out the door.
Like you just added the fabric softener.
It's one of those like Chinese drums. You just move back and forth with your hands and just kind
of... Moving on.
You brought it up.
I did bring up a gratuitous 80s topless blonde. Back in the party, Hans addresses them, ladies and gentlemen. He says he needs to teach the Nakatomi Corporation a lesson due to their global greed. So he's even laying it on thick for them as well.
Oh, yeah. Like, reads it out of a book.
Well, and every impression you've gotten so far is that these are just terrorists. If you were watching this for the first time, you're taking this literally.
Even if you're just reading
down,
even if you're just reading about like cast members on like Wikipedia, everything is terrorist. So and it's not really a twist, but it's
different enough. Yeah, it's different enough. Let's see. Hans calls out Takagi. They end up back up in Takagi's office. Hans is complimenting Takagi on his suits. Knows the exact London-based tailor that makes the suits because he has a couple himself. And Hans reveals, I'm not interested in your corporation. I'm not interested in, hostages. I'm not interested in ransom. I want the $640 million worth of bearer bonds that are locked in your vault, and I need the codes. Right. You want money? "What kind of terrorists are you?" says Takagi, and Hans responds with, "Who says we're terrorists?"
Right.
Love that. Just absolutely love it.
Yeah, like, fooled you.
Fooled you.
That's where I was going with it. I was
like... John had snuck in, and he's been listening to the whole thing. Hans tells Takagi, "You're going to give me the codes. I'm going to count to 3. There's not going to be a 4." And Takagi does not give him the codes, and Hans shoots him in the head, splattering him
it's just point
all
blank
over. And he even took the silencer off to do it as well.
Oh yeah. Takagi died hard.
Yeah, he did die hard. Bullet to the face. That's dying hard.
Yeah. A bullet hit him hard.
Theo gets on the horn with Hans, and he's like, "I can crack the codes. There's 7 locks. I can get through all of them except for the last one, which has an electromagnetic seal. So I can get you almost there." In the meantime, some of the other bad guys, I'm just going to call them bad guys instead of terrorists.
That's fine.
Because they're not terrorists.
They're not terrorists.
No. They're wiring something up on the roof. And there's a whole team up there doing stuff. So there's something important about the roof. Meanwhile, John berates himself for not stepping in, but realizes, well, I'd be dead too. He pulls a fire alarm. I need to get some sirens down here. Give me some flashing lights. However, Hans and his crew have a contingency for this. They've thought out a lot of stuff here.
Well, for $640 million, you better have done your homework.
Yeah, if they did. So, like, do this and this and this. Call 911 and then let them know, it was a false alarm. So they turn around and go up. Hans ends up sending Tony up to the floor that the alarm was pulled on. John gets the drop on Tony, but they fight back. They get in the old fisticuffs.
Yeah, they do.
One of the things I like about the fist fights in this movie is that they're not just throwing quips at each other. McClane is screaming obscenities at him, which I think is a little more realistic than than just like witty quips.
Well, especially because we've seen like this D'Souza movies that has been written for Schwarzenegger. Like everything is full of humor.
Yeah,
like you never really feel like your hero's in trouble. But in this movie, it's like, it's John McClane is not John Matrix. And so,
well, you used the word hero a moment ago, Oz, and McClane, he's just kind of an everyman. And that's one of the things that I think people love about this movie, and specifically about the character. It's not jacked up Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's not jacked up Sylvester Stallone. This is an ordinary guy.
Which was such a huge change because they didn't like it. Like the critics didn't really care for it when it came out because it wasn't Schwarzenegger or Stallone. Like an 80s hero was supposed to look like He-Man. And this isn't He-Man. This is Bruce Willis. And
this is the guy from Moonlighting.
But the thing is, the world is full of Bruce Willises. They're not, so this was something where we could latch onto as your everyman.
You can identify with the hero. Yeah.
By far. It's like, I have shirts like that, and I know a cop, and
I've had fights with my wife,
right? And so, this isn't, it's fun for the escapism of like, it'd be cool to carry a whole tree on my arm,
or an entire I-beam.
Exactly, man. It sure would be great if I could just hold a man over a cliff with one hand
by his ankle.
But this is more realistic, and so the critics, they of course. When the critics are wrong, they get the opportunity to reevaluate and admit they were wrong. But originally,
Roger Ebert was a big Well, I did that.
Yeah, but the audience really came out in droves for this one, and we're like, "Hey, this is a guy we can get behind."
Yeah. So Tony and John are fighting, and just through everything, John never takes his arm off of Tony's neck, and they end up tumbling down some fire escape stairs, and John, intentionally or not, he breaks Tony's neck, and he's dead. John sees some Christmas lights nearby, and you hear a little kind of like Christmassy musical cue, which I love how they kind of subtly sneak in these little Christmas things.
Real slow in there.
So the elevator dings on the party floor, the 30th floor, Oz, and a woman just starts screaming when she sees the doors open, and it's Tony's body with a Santa hat wrapped in Christmas lights. And on the shirt, in his own blood, it says, "Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. Saying that as Hans did, as he was reading it out loud.
Yeah.
So Hans and the crew have a variable to deal with that they have not planned for.
Exactly. See, this is something that was not in their contingency plan.
Yes.
They were prepared for LA. They weren't prepared for New York.
They weren't prepared for John McClane. He's not going to die hard.
Not him.
So John's got Tony's automatic weapon, a radio, a lighter, cigarettes. His shoes are too small for John's feet, so John's still barefoot. Hans tells the crowd that Takagi's dead. They also have to tell Carl that his brother is dead.
Yeah.
He's not happy about it. This is also the kind of that sequence I referenced earlier, how John's just kind of running around these upper floors, and the camera stays with him. Mm-hmm. So you get to see, him riding on top of elevators. You get to see him running, checking out elevator shafts and these maintenance floors and things like that. Let's see. John goes up to the roof. He calls out a mayday on the radio. Hans immediately is like, "Where's the best place to transmit? The roof. Get up there."
Yeah,
so
he's up there.
John calls out. He does get in touch with somebody at the police station, but of course, this is an 80s movie, Oz. 80s cops, for the most part, are pretty inept, so they don't take him seriously.
They are.
We're going to have to come and arrest you for breaking the such and such ordinance. Well, come and arrest me.
Right, just get somebody down here already.
Yeah.
I really, it bothers me in retrospect thinking about it, like that they made like the receptionist police officers women.
Mm-hmm.
And they made them the ones that are like, oh, they're the idiot police officers that that aren't on the beat. They're the ones stuck behind the desk answering phones. They're the ones that aren't like. Just send somebody down. Oh, it's the same place that they had the fire alarm. Well, maybe because there's a problem.
Yeah. So they decide to send a black and white to do a drive-by. And that's where we meet Sergeant Al Powell, Oz. He's in a convenience mart buying a literal armload of Twinkies for his pregnant wife.
Yeah.
So he gets sent over to Nakatomi. Meanwhile, Carl and the gang have tracked down John on top of the building, so they're in a firefight up there on the top of Nakatomi Plaza. John ends up running through, he's running through like an elevator shaft, and he gets trapped and cornered. So we get that scene where he literally lowers himself down an elevator shaft using the strap from this gun to try to reach an
extremely long strap from this gun, like
trying to reach an air duct, which eventually he does. The strap breaks, and fortunately, he's able to fall and grab the duct despite all of his weight falling. But I might come back to that later.
He'd have died hard if he fell.
He would have died hard. That would have been a log fall. So John ends up by a window, and he sees Powell pull up. One of the bad guys named Eddie is down there pretending to be security. So he kind of charms Powell. Nothing's up. He's got a football game on. I'm going to lose $50 on this game. Just making things seem as normal could be.
Did a good job of it too.
Yeah. So Powell goes to leave. In the meantime, John sees Powell going to leave, and he gets mad, and he takes a chair and starts smashing it through a window. Different set of bad guys. The ones up on the roof doing the wiring see and hear it, and they get down there. There's two of them. John takes out one of them. The other one climbs up on a series of tables. I think they're back in Takagi's office, actually. And John's just kind of squirming his way underneath these tables while the guy is up above them, shooting through them. And the scene, I love it, and it kind of bothers me at the same time. So this guy is on top of the table, and he runs. He has to change his clip, and he says, "The next time you have a chance to kill someone, don't hesitate." As he's reloading his gun, John then shoots him through the table, kills him. Right. Thanks for the advice.
Yeah, whew, I would have known what to do.
Good thing you told me. Oh, shoot now? Okay, I
got to the end of this table and felt, I guess it's time to die hard.
Thanks, Marco.
Right.
So Powell goes back to his car, just kind of humming "Let It Snow" under his breath, and as he's backing up, Marco's body hits the hood of his car. Yeah. So McClane had thrown this guy's body 30 stories down. lands on top of Powell's car, and McClane opens fire just to get the point across. Like, yes,
Right.
yes, this is there's things going on here. So basically, he pretends to be a terrorist, is shooting at Powell's car as Powell hightails it out of there in reverse to escape. And
Welcome to the
calls
party.
for backup. Yeah, welcome to the party, pal. We briefly get introduced to Richard Thornburg, played by the Ghostbusters villain William Atherton.
Yeah.
He's on the phone pleading to a woman, I can get reservations at Spago. I'm good friends with Wolfgang.
It's me, Spago.
Spago. Hey.
I hear there is excellent, like, somebody had the night of their life at Spago.
Yeah. The Lethal Weapon, yeah.
Yeah, it's after the Lethal Weapon
It was the
premiere.
Lethal Weapon one, yeah. Oh, God. Let's see. John then gets as cops are just flooding the area now. And Thornburg has convinced his boss to take a camera crew down there. John is talking to Hans on the radio, and he's using the names of the guys because he's been going through their wallets. And he uses Hans's name. So we get the first direct interaction between McClane and Hans here. Let's see. John finds C4 bricks and detonators on Heinrich, one of the guys who was up working on the roof. Hans, he's talking with John very calmly. You're just how do I know? You're just a delusional American thinking you're a cowboy or a Rambo. And that's where we get one of the other lines, which I cannot complete the line as because of the PG nature of our show. You and I both being public educators. John tells Hans, yippee-ki-yay, mama.
Yeah.
Mama something.
Fire trucker, I think is what he called him.
Yes, fire trucker.
Because he was like an emergency response guy.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yippee-ki-yay, fire trucker.
Yeah. We get the Mary Ellen Trainor cameo. As the news anchor.
It did excite me to see her. I was like, hey, it's Mary Ellen.
It's Mary Ellen Trainor.
Hey, I waved at the TV. Hey, Mary Ellen.
It's Bob Zemeckis' better half.
We go way back.
Yeah. So Hans is worried that Heinrich's bag is missing. He had the detonator. So you get the idea these detonators were really important to the bad guy's plan here, Oz. John starts talking to Powell, so their relationship unfolds as it does over the course of this movie. He kind of reveals what they're up against, the arsenal they have. They're European. We get introduced to Deputy Chief Dwayne Robinson, played by Paul Gleason. Such a great character and a great performance.
Such an inept, like
like a bureaucratic cop in the worst ways.
Oh yeah.
He doubts Powell. He doubts Roy, as McClane has dubbed himself, because it doesn't want to use his real name.
Right.
We then get a fun little sequence. I'm going to mention this one isn't really pertinent to the plot, but I love this sequence where Holly walks up to Hans and asks for some requests. Again, this movie does such a great job of establishing these relationships and rapport between all of these characters, including Holly and Hans.
Yeah.
And Hans just he's going through other stuff, and he's just kind of half paying attention. What idiot put you in charge? And she just snaps back and says, you did when you murdered my boss. So he kind of smiles and squares her up and okay.
Yeah. I kind of like this.
Yeah.
Because it really up to this point has been easy.
Yeah.
With the exception of McClane, it's been easy.
Yeah.
And they're just waiting. They're waiting for Theo to get through.
Yeah.
to get through the codes.
Mm-hmm. And so just fun sequence there. And she makes reasonable demands. Like there's a pregnant woman.
Very
we
reasonable.
need a couch. If you don't want things getting messy, you better start taking us to the bathroom. It's like, of course.
Yeah, and he agrees with her because that's one thing that really adds some depth to him is he's not like a Negan type character from Walking Dead that is just everything is on me, nothing else matters, my guy's over anything. Like these demands were reasonable and he met them with reason.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Yes, we'll bring her a couch.
Well, and I think he also realized that it's going to make things easier for him.
Yeah.
If they acquiesce just a little bit, give just a little bit, it'll help keep the hostages a little more controlled and sedate and calm. Let's see. He sees Thornburg on the news, so Argyle finally realizes what's going on. So he kind of starts panicking. We go back out to the street. Robinson tells Powell, "Hey, we're sending in SWAT." So we get the sequence here where they try storming the building, and John's just watching, from like the 33rd floor or whatever. He's just banging his hand on the glass, like, "No, you macho idiots!" And they are. They're just macho idiots.
Oh yeah, they're like, we're just throw muscle at them. We'll win.
Yeah. They haven't made any demands. We're just going to storm the building.
Right. They can't keep us out.
Yeah.
We're the cops.
And so they try to storm their way in, and the SWAT members who were trying to burn their way into the building all get taken out. They all get wounded and shot. So the lead SWAT guy, through gritted teeth, "Send in the car.
Get in the car.
Send in the car."
He's just missing like a bamboo shoot size cigar.
So they send in this heavily armored vehicle, like a military grade vehicle, to try to like basically just ram their way in. Of course, it gets stuck on the concrete steps outside.
Yeah, right away.
As we said before, these bad guys were prepared for about anything. It turns out they have military grade missiles.
Oh, yeah, like we saw them carrying these boxes around, and they had, and they were military grade because they were painted green with yellow stencil.
Yeah, that means military.
It doesn't even matter what it said; you just knew that it was military.
It said "aim away from face."
Exactly. But you're just like, yep, that's military stencil.
That's a green box with yellow lettering. That's got to be military.
And it was. So they pull out the missile and take out the car.
They take out the car.
It's like Sergeant Slaughter was the FBI leader, or the SWAT team leader.
And so they blow up the car, and of course we get to cut to Thornburg. "Eat your heart out, Channel 5. Did you get that?"
Just so many layers of selfish 80s here.
Oh god, I love. I think I was reading in the trivia or Wikipedia or something that due to Bruce Willis having to go back for moonlighting shooting as well, they had to kind of beef up some of these secondary characters and give them more screen time.
I'm glad they did.
So it was kind of a pleasant surprise that it like I could imagine the Thornburg character probably didn't have much of the original script. But it just, again, it's one of those, I was telling Patreon subscriber Melissa L this as we were watching. It turned this from a very good movie to a great movie. Those secondary characters. John and Powell are talking, and Robinson there, and it's like, I actually just skipped over something. So after they blew up the car, McClane's like, "Well, okay, time for me to do something." So he opens this bag that has C4 in it, pops a couple detonators in it, ties it to a chair, and throws it down an elevator shaft.
Yeah.
Blows up the bottom floors of Nakatomi, taking out the guys the guys who fired the missiles.
Yeah.
And and of course gets Han's attention because one of their bad guys is like, "They're using artillery on us." He's like, "No, it's him." So Powell and Robinson are talking to McClane, and Robinson's like, "I got 100 people down here. They're covered in glass." And of course, John gives him some witty retorts. Who gives about glass? I'm not the one who just got something on national television.
Yeah.
Who got? We'll say loved hard on national television.
Yeah. loved hard. I'm sure that's going to make it into the vernacular of adult films.
Yes, loved hard. That was the porn name of Die Hard.
Yeah, loved hard.
Loved hard. Back at the party, Oz, Ellis is working up some nerve. He does a couple bumps of coke. Says he's tired of waiting. Turns to Holly and says, "Hey babe, I negotiate $1 million deals for breakfast. I think I can handle this Euro trash."
Hey babe.
"Hans, booby, I'm your white knight. Guy upstairs who's messing things up, I can give him to you." So this coked up idiot thinks that he can negotiate.
Oh yeah, because he's way smarter than Hans.
Yeah,
like way smarter.
Yeah, he's an 80s business yuppie. They can negotiate anything.
We should do another podcast where all we do is just table read scripts, just the two of us.
I'd make a great 80s yuppie.
Oh my gosh, you would? I'm dying hard just listening to you.
Well, don't die hard. If you're
No,
gonna
I
die,
won't.
die soft.
Wasn't there a character in Clerks that died hard?
Was there? In Clerks?
Yeah.
It's been so long since I've seen Clerks.
Because didn't one of the female characters found him in the bathroom?
Yes. God, it's probably been 20 years since I've seen Clerks, if not longer. But
different connotation to dying hard, but yeah.
Yes. Definitely wasn't a pillow factory.
No.
So John and Powell are on the radio bonding over Twinkies, and Hans interrupts, says he knows John's identity. Puts Ellis on, hey, John boy.
Oh, man.
God, Ellis.
You hate him.
I know. You're supposed to hate. Again, he's like, a great wrestling heel. You want to punch him in the face.
Oh, yeah. It's like this whole movie is like Hans Gruber is the worst character in the movie, and you're even rooting for Hans. You're like, come on, Hans, take him out. Like,
just get him to stop talking, shoot him in the head like Takagi.
Yeah.
Which eventually he does.
He does, yeah.
He does. He basically uses Ellis to try to draw out John, and John doesn't go for it. John knows that Ellis is gone at this point. There's nothing he can do to save him. Hans checks in with Theo, who says, I'm almost at the last lock, but we're going to need a miracle. And I love Hans Alan Rickman's response. He says, Theo, it's Christmas. It's a time of miracles.
Right. Like, just don't worry. We got it.
In the meantime, Hans has gotten on the radio with Robinson and says he wants brothers in arms released from around the world. and again, he's just making this BS up to buy time and distract and draw attention away from what their real plot is.
Yeah. You have has the FBI hasn't showed up yet, have they?
Not yet. We're almost there.
Okay.
I will say another thing that has nothing to do with the plot that I'll take just a moment to mention here. So they go back to Gail, Barely Ellen Trainer, in the studio, and she has a hostage expert on. And he's talking about the Helsinki syndrome with the other anchor, Harvey, who already is been established as an idiot as well. And so the guy's like, yeah, the Helsinki syndrome. Harvey jumps in and says, is it Helsinki, Sweden? It's Finland. It's Finland. I love the inept egos in the media as well.
Yeah, because like that scene there serves zero purpose at all, other than just a little nugget of comic relief.
Yeah. So at this point, Oz, the Johnsons arrive. The Johnsons are in town. They are the FBI. They're there. No relation, by the way, between the characters known in the cast list as Big Johnson and Little Johnson.
Yeah, they're not like the Dudley brothers.
Dudley's nice. They tell Robinson he's not in charge anymore. Hans goes to check on things himself. Hans goes upstairs to kind of see if he can find these detonators, see how things are going. And John gets the drop on him. And Oz, this could be one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie right here.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yeah. So John gets the drop on Hans. Hans immediately slips into character as a hostage who had escaped. He dubs an American accent. He's begging for his life, pretending that he thinks McClane is one of them, one of the terrorists. He says that his name is Bill Clay. Bill Clay.
Yeah.
Which he had checked and as an actual employee there. And they have this little moment where they're going back and forth, and John is kind of playing along, and he ends up shares a cigarette, which Hans takes like a European.
Yeah.
And he sees John's bare feet. John gives Hans his handgun, Oz. You ever used one of these before? Oh, I went to a combat ranch once, with the red paint. Well, this is the real thing. You just pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Gives him the gun. John kind of walks away with a smirk on his face. I'm going to count to 3. Oh, it's a nice American accent you got there, Hans. Goes to shoot him. Nothing. John had figured it out. No bullets in the gun, Oz. And just then, 3 other guys drop in to ambush. So
the movie could have been over right now.
Yeah. 4 on 1 here. John takes out one of them right away. Takes out another one as he's running at him. He kneecaps him with the machine gun.
Yeah.
So it's, really, really gruesome scene there.
Yeah. A lot of very splashy knees.
Yeah. Gelatinous knees.
Yeah, that's right. You get clots.
Gelatinous knees. I think that's my favorite Flaming Lips album.
Yeah, gelatinous
knees. Yeah. So they get Carl and Hans. They got John cornered, and Hans gives Carl the order: shoot the glass. Which Carl
because he knows he's barefoot.
Yeah, knows he's barefoot. Shoot the glass. He can't run. John sees an exit that he could take. He's got to walk through the glass to get there, which he does. So it's
a hard scene to watch.
Yeah, so they don't get John. John escapes, but he drops the detonator. So Hans has got his detonators back. Shows John a little bit later. He's in a bathroom picking glass out of his feet as he's talking to Powell on the radio. Powell reveals that he accidentally shot a kid. Normally he works at the desk. So
you get Steve Urkel. and it wasn't an accident.
it was the Urkel from the Key and Peele Family Matters sketch.
Yeah.
Did I do that?
Actually, yeah, it was the suave one, Stefan Urkel.
Stefan Urkel.
Yeah, it's the first thing I thought. I shot a kid, and I'm like, you've been meaning to shoot him for a long time.
Yeah. Keep your hands off Laura.
Right.
So Hans is talking to Theo again, and Theo's like, I got through the first 7 locks, but that electromagnetic seal dropped, and I am out. Where's that miracle? Hans replies back, you asked for miracles, Theos. I give you the FBI.
Yeah.
The FBI then orders power to get cut to the building until like the immediate radius as well. And another one of my favorite little scenes in the movie. So as the power goes, which cuts the electromagnetic seal, opening the vault,
right.
Ode to Joy plays.
Yo, yeah, it's so cheesy and so awesome all at the same time.
It's triumphant.
Yeah,
their plan worked. Hans anticipated the FBI would show up. They'd cut power because that's part of their playbook, and that would unlock that last seal. Hans knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah. He's a bright guy.
Yeah. Hans then also reveals their plans. They're going to fake their deaths by blowing up the roof when these helicopters that they called for arrive. By the time they figure out what's happened, we'll be sitting on a beach earning 20%.
Oh, the 80s, where interest rates were huge.
Yeah.
Now it's like we'll be sitting on a beach earning 0.01%.
Sipping 7-Up out of a room temperature can.
And by it's Indiana Beach is where they're
headed. Indiana. There's more than corn in Indiana. Hans Gruber's there too.
We're sitting on Indiana Beach, sipping ginger ale, earning 0.01%.
Sipping a Schweppes.
Right? Have a Dr. Thunder. A Mountain Holler.
Mountain Holler.
Yeah, that's a nice Mountain Dew knockoff down around these parts. A Mountain Holler.
Mountain Holler. Is there an R at the end, or is it Holler or Holla?
It is an R. But yeah,
okay.
It's more fun with an A. Mountain Holler.
Mountain Holler.
Let me holler at you. Holla, 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 holla.
John gets on the radio. Tells Powell, find my wife. Tell her I've been a jerk. I should have been more successful. And he's like, you could tell her yourself when this is all done. Let's see. In the meantime, Thornburg has arrived at the McLean's address and goes on national television talking to their kids. Hans is watching the TV and puts 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
That Holly and John are married.
Right.
So they've rewired the top of the roof there. They got the C4 ready. They shoo all the hostages up there except for Holly, who Hans hangs on to as collateral. John goes upstairs to find out what's going on, and he sees C4 everywhere. He goes to start to yell to Powell about the roof being wired, and Carl shows up. And they get into a huge fist fight, Oz.
Oh, yeah.
Super brutal fist fight.
The only thing missing was a busted hydrant.
And a coked up Gary Busey.
It's true, yeah. It's Mr. Carl. Met him on the roof.
The Johnsons are in the helicopter. Oh my God, they are the worst. They are the worst.
Yeah. Oh,
They're talking in the helicopter about the Big Johnson, Robert Davies, like, I'll take out the terrorists. We'll lose 25% of the hostages. And the other Johnson's like, I can live with that.
Yeah.
Like, you're okay.
They're federal. They're federal. They don't care.
It's just all in day's work.
As long as they win.
Yeah. Holly calls out Hans for being nothing but a common thief, and he shoots back, I am an exceptional thief. Like, he's really offended.
Right. Yeah, like, I'm better than you. I'm better than common.
John gets like a chain on it's hard to describe in an audio format, but as he and Carl are fighting, he basically wraps like this huge chain, which is on like a pulley suspended from the ceiling, wraps it around his neck, and like basically hangs Carl.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
So up on the roof, John ends up there, and he's talking with Holly's assistant, and he's like, "Where's Holly? She's downstairs. You got to get out of here. Like, you got to get downstairs, get off this roof." And so he starts shooting his gun in the air to shoo all these hostages back downstairs where they came from. And these people got to be confused and frightened, Oz, you know?
Oh,
they just got shooed up there at gunpoint. Now they're getting shooed back downstairs at gunpoint. So he's just shooting the gun in the air to scare them into running. And of course, at that time, the Johnsons show up in their helicopter and just start shooting it at McClane, thinking he's one of the terrorists.
Understandable, so.
So John knows that the roof is going to blow up at any moment. So he finds a fire hose up on the roof, ties it around his waist, says a prayer, jumps off the roof as it explodes, and it takes out the top couple of stories of the Nakatomi building.
They've already taken out the bottom couple stories of the Nakatomi building. How the building's still standing after blowing out the foundation, I don't know, but whatever.
It's called symmetry, Oz.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So he's literally suspended off the side of this building by a fire hose as the helicopters are engulfed in flames and explosions as well. So the Johnsons are gone. John ends up shooting his way back into the building and just unties the fire hose from around his waist right before the weight of it pulls him out to the ground.
Right.
And at this point, we get one of my favorite lines of the whole movie as Powell and Robinson are watching the helicopter explode above Nakatomi. Robinson just kind of looks up and goes, "Holy Christ, we're going to need some more FBI guys."
No, you don't. You didn't need the ones you've got. Yeah, we're going to need some more.
We're going to need some more FBI guys.
He's so ridiculous.
Yeah. So we're in the home stretch here, Oz. John ends up basically back in the same area where Holly is at. Hans are at, the couple of goons that are still there. Meanwhile, Argyle sees Theo drive an ambulance out of the big truck in the parking garage. Argyle rams his limo into Theo's truck and punches him out. So he's kind of thwarted their plan down there. John has 2 bullets left. He punches out one of the bad guys as he's rounding a corner. So there's 2 guys left, Hans and Eddie. Hans has got a gun on Holly. And John's like, "So this is all this was about, a robbery?" Hans tells him his plan. "I was going to fake my death so that we wouldn't get tracked." And then John's like, "Well, you got me." And they start laughing. Hans repeats the yippee-ki-yay line to him. Turns out, though, John found some Christmas, like, wrapping tape. And he taped his gun to his back, Oz. So as he's standing there with his hands behind his head, he reaches down, grabs the gun off of his back, puts a bullet into Hans's chest, a bullet into Eddie's face. Happy trails, Hans. As Hans falls out the window. Unfortunately.
It's really good tape, because John was really wet and sticky and
greasy.
Yeah, that tape held really well.
At this point, he's shirtless, but I was reading in the trivia that they had 17 versions of his tank top to different degrees of degradation.
Yeah, because it started white and ended brown.
Yeah. And so as Hans was falling, he had grabbed Holly's wrist and was kind of holding onto her watch, the Rolex.
The Rolex.
the Rolex that Ellis gave her. And so she's screaming. as Hans is hanging on, and he goes. You kind of get like Holly's POV, sort of looking down at Hans, and he pulls his gun up and he's about to shoot at him as Hans is just dangling out of this window, knowing he's gonna fall regardless.
Yeah.
And John is able to unclasp the watch, sending Hans falling to his death. In one of the most iconic action moment villain deaths, I think, in cinema history. I also was reading that they really did drop Alan Rickman like 30 feet onto an airbag or something. And they told him, all right, on the count of 3, we're going to let you go. And they let him go at 2 to kind of get the more genuine surprised look on his face.
Worked.
Yep, it did. We get one last great Robinson line as Hans is falling. Hope that's not a hostage.
He's gonna throws his hands up.
and then Hans dies hard.
Yeah, he did. Real hard.
Yep, he hits the pavement. Boom.
Hard. And died hard.
He did. He died hard. Literally, he hit the hard pavement and then died.
He did.
Street level, we get a little epilogue here. John and Holly find each other. They connect with Powell. They have a manly, bromantic hug. She introduces herself as Holly McClane. Robinson comes over. He starts shaking down McClane, and then Carl appears. He made it out. He didn't die, Oz. He made it out. Gun drawn at John, and Powell guns him down. The same Powell who refused to ever draw his gun again because he accidentally shot somebody.
He purposely shot them this time.
Yes, he did. Thornburg goes on the air, goes to interview John, and Holly just punches him in the face.
just
punches him in the face. And of course, and he turns back to the camera. Did you get that? As he's like bleeding from his nose.
Right.
And they get into Argyle's limo as Let It Snow plays. As the credits begin to roll, we then get Ode to Joy again during the credits. And Oz, my friend, that is 1988's Die Hard.
Die Hard.
At this point in the show, folks, Oz and I give our own unique rating to the film we've been talking about. In this case, Is It a Christmas Classic? Die Hard. Oz, how would you rate this movie?
I'm going to give this 9 tall blonde henchmen.
There are a lot of tall blonde henchmen in this movie.
Yeah, a lot of 6-footers in this in their army or gang or whatever, his posse. So, 9 tall blondes.
9 tall blondes.
Henchmen, not to be confused with the 9 blondes that are always caught.
Or 4 non-blondes.
Yeah, 4. I don't want 4 non-blondes. I want 9
tall blondes.
9 tall blondes. So, how about you? What's your rating?
I'm going to go with 93 coked up Ellises.
Oh, that's better than mine.
That's a lot of coked up Ellises.
Yeah.
Next up, folks, we got Outside Insight. Folks, Oz and I have scoured the interwebs, looking, searching for the right unprofessional review to bring to you for your amusement and ours. I think we found a couple of winners. Oz, what is your Outside Insight for Die Hard?
Mine is from Justine Wolf on Letterboxd. She dropped this on September 6th of this year. It is a half-star review.
Okay.
Saying, not even going to lie right now, I haven't seen this, but I refuse to see it because every Christmas, whenever I go to Walmart or Target, and I go to the movie section, all I see is Die Hard, it's a Christmas movie. Or the stupid Christmas themed box of it. And, in all caps, I'm sick of it, it's so annoying.
Sorry, Justine Wolf.
Yeah, she hasn't seen it.
But she still gave it a half-star review.
But she doesn't like that it's called a Christmas movie because she's not going to see it for herself, though. She just doesn't believe. So I think Krampus is going to get her.
I think so. Sorry, Justine. Krampus is coming for you. You're going to die hard.
Yeah, I'm not even going to lie right now. Like, that's how this started. I go, well, that's good. At least we know we're getting your honest opinion.
Yeah.
And there are no other capital letters in this until the all caps at the end, including all the self-referential I's. They're all lowercase. So it's actually one long sentence even. So there you go. How about you? What's your outside insight?
Well, my outside insight is also one long sentence. This comes from the Internet Movie Database from Baster 15, from a long line of Basters. There was 14 that came before.
Yeah.
From March 2021, so only about a year and a half from the time of this recording. The movie was very good, but I got dip on my pants. I'm going to watch it again without snacks.
hate this movie.
He says the movie was very good. The movie was very good, but I got dip in my pants. I'm going to watch it again without snacks, but gave it a 2 out of 10. But the movie,
man.
But lowered it at least probably 6 notches.
At least.
Dip on his pants.
This is like the inverse rating of the chick at Spago.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? I didn't see the movie, but because of the movie, I had a great night. So.
That's Spago.
They have the greatest food. Wolfgang Puck's a genius. Oh, I got dip on my pants.
Got dip on my pants. 2 out of 10. Well, folks, it's that time. Time for our signature segment, the 3-2-1, in which Oz and I each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about this film in question. This is our segment that was nominated for several prestigious awards during the 2022 year.
Yep. They talk about it on a lot. I know Joe Rogan's talked about it. Conan O'Brien's talked about it. Karen Kilgariff from My Favorite Murder, she talks about it. She spends half of each of their new episodes talking about our most recent episode.
Yep.
So
it's out there.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it's in the ether, as they say. Oz, what are your 3 goods for Die Hard?
I'm going to apologize in advance because I have this feeling I'm going to step on your toes.
Step away, my friend. There's a lot of goods in this movie.
Fair enough. My first one is I love to hate Ellis as that just yuppie jerk character. They nailed it with the casting. He nailed it with the performance. Yeah. So Ellis is my first good.
I guess McTiernan didn't like his performance initially.
Really? Yeah. Well, it's probably because he lived in the 80s, so... And it was his blow that he was doing.
He was actually coked up the whole time.
Right. It's like... my second good is the Hans John, fake American scene.
Yes.
I just... Even before it came on, when Hans said, "I'm going to go find those detonators," I turned to my wife and I go, "I love this scene coming up." It just...
please don't kill me!
I know
You're one of them.
It's not. It's one of those that it's not the scene or even the image that you get from the movie. You're gonna get Hans falling, you're gonna get the yippee-ki-yay, you're gonna get the welcome to the party, pal. But really, this scene is just where the movie's at. It's so good.
It is. Yeah, I agree. It is my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Well, and it's good because it's not the finale.
Yes.
Any Schwarzenegger or Stallone movie, by the time they've hit all their milestones and check marks to finally meet face to face with the bad guy, it's the end of the movie. And this isn't the end of the movie, which I think makes it so much more enjoyable. Is neither one of them win or lose in this scene, but it's the tension's been building. We finally see them meet, and we're like, "Oh, here we go," because we've all been preconditioned for an entire decade to this is where one of them dies.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it doesn't happen, and you're like, "Oh," it's just such a cool scene.
It is.
And my third good is I like the portrayal of inept higher ups. Because you've got Al Powell, who is the lowest on the rung in terms of job title, but is clearly the most engaged and knowledgeable police officer involved.
Mm-hmm.
By the time it hands off to Robinson, Robinson mucks everything up, and then the Johnsons get involved, and they do their typical FBI.
Yeah,
this is ours now. We got this. Just so arrogant and confident, and it just thinking that because we're here, they'll back down. We'll win.
Literally blows up in their face.
Yeah. And so I like the portrayal of had you guys just backed up and kind of let Powell do what Powell was already doing, you could have avoided a lot of casualties.
Yep.
But that's my 3 goods. What about you?
My 3 goods, I'm going to go with the supporting cast and characters. I kind of mentioned it before, but I think that's really what makes turns this movie from a very good movie to kind of an all-timer. Is just the William Atherton character, the Mary Ellen Trainor character, the Paul Gleason character, the Johnsons, Ellis, Argyle. all of these supporting characters who don't really do much to drive the plot, but they enhance the vibe, and they kind of make everything around them better. And
Well,
they're also the
yeah,
characters that add some levity to things as well.
yeah.
And it adds to the fun, and I just can't get enough of these
Well,
inconsequential but awesome supporting characters and
yeah,
performances.
and it makes it feel like there's more stakes involved. That it's not just John against the bad guys. That there are that there's more involved here.
Mhm.
That there's a community. There's the news. There's the law enforcement. Like there's other entities in here that are just as um, disrupted as John is. Like that Gruber and his gang, like they really do control the narrative of
Yeah.
everything that's gone on in this movie,
Mhm.
up until they don't.
Well, and you can see like how the efforts of these other characters to both support and hinder John. Argyle's
Right?
efforts
Yeah.
support him, Powell's efforts support him, and then Robinson, the Johnsons, Thornburg, hinder him,
Yeah.
and they it doesn't directly impact the plot or the narrative,
No.
but it just I love it.
But it takes it's for a movie that takes place 100% in a tower. It gives us life outside of the tower.
Mhm. My second one, I will go with just the flawed hero. Again, this isn't your stereotypical '80s muscled up, greased up, big
Right.
action star. This is a guy who was doing moonlighting. I think
Right.
Die Hard, I think was Bruce Willis's second movie,
Yeah.
and they do such a great job of establishing him as this flawed hero. He's beating himself up half the time. He's like, why did I do that? Why didn't I do that? Whether it's with Holly, whether it was his decisions, to try to intervene with the hostages earlier in the movie. He's giving himself a hard time.
Well, even from the opening scene, like he's anxious.
Yeah.
He's not comfortable. When he gets there and starts to clean himself up. I mean, we see a scar.
Mhm.
There he's had some sort of injury and surgery done on his shoulder. So it's like he's not this, prototype, like a Schwarzenegger or Stallone are.
Mhm. Yeah, he's an everyman hero, a flawed hero. He's like, it's kind of like the classic like flawed Marvel hero versus the
Oh, yeah.
invincible DC hero kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, in your
Excuse
classic
me.
DC Marvel archetypes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
And,
then
I mean, he makes me feel like I could probably stop a robbery.
yeah, which you should.
And
I mean,
I
after
should
watching
start-
Die Hard, I mean, I'm assuming that if I just act tough and cite some Western movies, I could take anybody out.
I'm hoping I get some Christmas money so I can go buy some undershirts, because I just have like V-neck T-shirts, and I don't think that's going to cut it. I think I
No.
need.
It's got to be like a Hanes brand, like white undershirt.
Oh, and I'll totally fill them out the way I've been eating lately.
I have not worn shoes in months.
Yeah.
Just trying
But
to be John McClane.
But do you have the extra Hobbit, like the Hobbit cover-up feet that Bruce Willis is wearing?
No, I don't have the Hobbit cover up feet, but I do have a sixth toe.
Ooh, nice.
But
That makes your carpet fisting really well.
It does, but
You got a nice grip on it.
I didn't say that the sixth toe was on my feet.
Right. You could totally Alfonseca the carpet.
Alfonseca. Oh, there's a reference from the old books there, folks. Former Cubs closer Antonio Alfonseca, the 11-fingered man.
That's right.
The Count Root was it?
Count Rugen.
Rugen, there we go. Count Rugen.
Yeah.
The Cubs closer.
Ruben was, yeah, you're thinking Ruben. He was the American Idol guy.
Oh, okay. I could have just been thinking of Sandwich as well.
You weren't. You were
I
thinking
was-
of the Clay Aiken
You
finalist.
knew specifically what I was thinking.
Yeah. You were thinking Ruben Studdard.
You weren't. You were thinking of Ruben Studdard.
Right. He was thinking of the sandwich.
I could have been Ruben Sierra, former Texas Rangers All-Star.
Could have been Ruben Sierra, but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
It was American Idol
It was
finalist Ruben Studdard.
Specifically Ruben Studdard. My last good. I'm just gonna go with Alan Rickman / Hans Gruber.
Right.
Amazing performance by Alan Rickman in his film debut as well.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding. Way to set the bar high.
Exactly. And just the Hans Gruber character is, again, it's so great. It's this classy. He even says that his character's classically educated at one point.
Yeah.
He's not he can be menacing when he needs to be, but that's not his default setting.
No.
His default setting is subtle intimidation, with this like underlying level of like, I know there's a pompousness to him, but it's all, and he wears a suit to this.
Yeah. He's just kind of cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah.
He's playing chess in a game of checkers, kind of.
There you go.
He's Gene Hackman is Lex Luthor.
Also read in the trivia that Gene Hackman was one of several actors that were up for the Powell role. I'm glad they didn't go with Gene.
Yeah, Hackman. I'm glad.
It would have overpowered that role.
Yeah.
Carl
Carl Winslow was the right choice.
Yes, Carl Winslow. Family Matters. All right, Oz, what are your two bads for Die Hard?
You had texted me yesterday about, how it was really hard finding bads. And I agree, it was hard finding bads. My first bad is when John gets to the towers. He comes in, it's this huge establishing shot of the lobby to make him look really small.
Mm-hmm.
He walks up to security and asks for Holly McClane. And the guy's like, just use the touchscreen,
Mm-hmm.
So he uses the touchscreen, and she's not under McClane, so he hits the G for Gennaro and just taps her name. And then the guy goes, she's up on the 30th floor. They're the only people in the building.
You could have just told him that?
Exactly.
I was thinking the same thing as I was watching. Well, they're the only ones left in the building. We'll know something, Sherlock.
Yeah. I said that to my wife. I go, he could have just told him? Like, she's upstairs. And, like, what purpose did that screen do? Like, he literally touched the name and then touched her name, and it just said her name on the screen. It didn't say where it like pointed an arrow towards the elevator. That's all it did.
Yeah.
It didn't say, it's not like she has a tracking on her or anything. It didn't give like that. I paid attention to it. It didn't seem to give like a phone number or extension or anything like that. It was just, you're on the ground floor of like a 40 story building. Everybody's on the elevator. Like, so that was my first bad. My second one is, as this movie, it just jumps right in from the start.
Mm-hmm.
And the pacing is really well. But when we shifted the focus from John McClane for when Gleason shows up and the FBI shows up, things really drug a little bit. And it wasn't terrible. Obviously, it didn't ruin the movie. And I'm looking for a second bad. But it was the only time in the movie where I felt my eyes getting heavy.
Okay.
Whereas the scenes where basically John's standing at the window of the 33rd floor looking down to see what the cops are going to do.
Watching the cops just completely.
Yeah, and it's just like, I get why they did it, but we just spent all this time watching John run around being chased, and then more time of John running around being chased. And when he wasn't being chased and just hanging out by the window, that's my second bad. It's just like, all right, get back to it. Let's go. Let's get back to the action.
Send in
especially because it is over a 2-hour movie. Like, get back to it, please. So, but that was my second bad. What about you?
Oh, let's see. I'm gonna go with my first bad is that this movie, as good as it is, it inspired some awful movies in the subsequent years.
Yes, it did.
Die Hard on a Boat, Under Siege, Die Hard in a Plane, Passenger 57, Die Hard in a Hockey Rink. I forget, was it Sudden Death or I don't know.
Sudden Death.
It's Van Damme as a firefighter at a Pittsburgh Penguins game. Like, it inspired some.
Sudden Death.
Like, Under Siege is okay, but the others are just ugh. And like, then there's like Under Siege 2 and like.
Well, we got to cover Under Siege when we do Steven Seagal.
Again, to varying degrees of bad. I'm not saying Under Siege is okay.
Yeah. But they're fun movies.
But it inspired these other like one man against the terrorist movies.
Right. And it's like, and to go like full circle, it's like even when like Threat Level Midnight on The Office is basically a Die Hard spoof.
Yeah, it is. I'm just thinking of them skating next to each other, like 5 feet apart, shooting at each other.
Right.
Golden face.
I'm gonna dig up your wife.
Oh Oh, my other bad is when the SWAT guys also are in that same sequence. When the SWAT guys are trying to storm the doors and they're trying to torch their way in, one of the bad guys ends up by like a candy counter, and there's a little kind of moment of levity, and there's like kind of a fun musical cue with it as well, where he like takes candy bars out and he starts eating them as he's kind of lining his shot up. One of the candy bars he takes is a Nestle Crunch, which I think is an underrated candy bar. I'm a big Nestle Crunch fan. However,
like Crunch. One
of the other candy bars he takes is a Mars bar. You had like 20 different candy bars there, and you took a Mars bar? Come on, you got a better taste than that.
I don't even know if I've ever had a Mars bar.
I don't think I ever had either, but there's probably a reason why. There's a reason why you don't see them around nearly as much anyway.
Well, you don't see saffron and truffles around either.
Are you defending Mars bars?
I don't know. I've never had one.
I know. I stand by my statement. Mars bars.
Oh, I enjoy a Crunch bar as well.
Yeah.
Although the argument would have been moot if he'd have reached in and grabbed a whatchamacallit.
Oh, love whatchamacallit.
I love a whatchamacallit.
Whatchamacallits are one of my underrated candy bars. Sometimes that's like a little icebreaker I'll do when I'm running like groups or even like just classroom presentations. Hey, like, give me what's your underrated candy bar? Let's hear from some people.
I love whatchamacallit. Might be my favorite.
100 Grand, I think, is also an underrated.
Mm-hmm. Those are good.
Mm-hmm. What's an overrated candy bar, Oz?
Three Musketeers.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Three Musketeers, overrated.
Yeah, like just eat a Milky Way.
Yeah,
put a little caramel in it,
caramel in there, yeah,
and you're better. Yeah, Three Musketeers is way overrated.
Yeah,
or I like a Zero bar too.
I don't think I've ever had a Zero bar.
White chocolate covered nougat.
I'm not the biggest white chocolate fan.
Yeah,
I'm probably gonna lose.
They're really sweet, but
white chocolate is very sweet. We're probably gonna lose some Patreon subscribers at this next statement. I think Reese's peanut butter cups can be a little overrated. I like them. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but like I can't just like nom 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 peanut
butter.
cups.
No. I do enjoy them more frozen.
Yeah, I like them in like ice cream and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'll take a full cup, pop a frozen one in my mouth, and just kind of let it melt. That's not bad.
It's good stuff right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, hey Oz, what's your one about Die Hard?
Why didn't Gruber just cut the power himself? Like, I mean, they had everything else covered, and all of a sudden, like, well, what do we do about the power? They even had a plan to get the power cut. Just go do it yourself. You do it yourself, there's no problems. So
that's true.
Instead, they relied on can't think of the actor's name, but they relied on Tom Hanks's neighbor in The Burbs to go cut the power for him.
I knew that guy looked familiar.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my It's just of all the pieces of the plan you have figured out, you couldn't get somebody to just go down in a manhole and cut the power?
Yeah.
Oh well. What about your
Oh, I got a couple possibilities here. Let's go with, why do they only kind of sporadically go after McClane? Just kind of going back to that mention, like we've kind of zeroed in on that scene in the middle where like the cops are trying to siege the place, and and he's just banging on the windows. And I understand they're trying to fend off the cops too, but like you would think if they had like this loose variable out there running around that they'd go take care of the variable. Like send everybody, just do it.
I blame D'Souza. I blame the screenwriter for this.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to have a knack for writing hero characters that just kind of get forgotten. Like he did the same thing in Running Man.
Yeah.
Once the network.
That's true. Yeah, that's very
once
true.
They showed the broadcast of him getting killed.
Mm-hmm.
By was it Mr. Freedom or
Captain Freedom?
Captain Freedom. Once they showed Jesse Ventura deep fake kill him, then they just quit chasing him.
Captain Freedom and his toaster oven chest piece.
Exactly.
His oyster toaster oven chest piece.
Like they should hire Jesse Ventura to wear a bunch of what are those you see those commercials for like Travalo or whatever where like you just get like the mail order food and put it in the toaster oven. Like you should have him hawk those in his American Freedom costume or Captain Freedom costume,
mustache and everything.
But yeah, you're right. Like they just kind of quit chasing him. Like you knew he was in the building still,
and you know the general area where he is.
Yeah, because he just hung out by a window for a while.
Yeah,
especially when they had him on the ropes. They knew his feet were all cut up, and then they just gave him time to heal.
Cast a healing spell at his feet.
What his feet did stop bothering him after that. Like,
yeah,
dude, your feet are sliced up, and you're still running around. And
I do love when he's dangling from the roof by the fire hose, and he's kicking the window.
Yeah,
you could see the blood like from his feet, like caking.
He's
on
like,
on the window,
smacking the window with a bloody foot. Yeah, it was a nice touch.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, folks, that's 1988's Die Hard, and that concludes the Is It a Christmas Movie month. So, Oz, that leaves us with the question, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
I believe it is.
Ooh, explain.
I say it is for the same reason that, like, Gremlins was. You've got a Christmas party. When you think about American companies bringing all of their employees together to celebrate, Christmas party's about it. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, there aren't any other major holidays where everybody comes together to celebrate outside of Christmas. And so while Christmas doesn't play as prominent a role as it did in, say, Gremlins, it definitely shows up. There's a Santa hat, there's a ho, 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 there's, you know, little Christmas jingles here and there. He brings a gift for his grandkids. Not his grandkids, for his kids. He brings a gift that's far more obvious as a gift, like a Christmas gift, than the bullet that Riggs gave Murtaugh. And so I can also understand why people would say no, it's not, because the plot of this movie does not revolve around Christmas. But I do think the setting of Christmas is the primary reason John comes from New York to LA. He's not coming in the middle of September. He's coming because it's Christmas and he wants to see his family. And so that in my boat is what makes it a Christmas movie. Aside from all the Christmas music, that stuff, I mean, those are just soundtrack choices. You can make a Christmas movie without Christmas songs in it, and it could still be a Christmas movie. But for that, I think, yes, I do think Die Hard is a Christmas movie. How about you?
I'm going to play contrarian just for contrarian's sake. I do not think Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
But Lethal Weapon was.
But Lethal Weapon was. I stand by my choice. They had a scene at a Christmas tree farm, or not a farm, but a Christmas tree lot there. Thus, a Christmas movie. No, and Die Hard, they also said that, yes, it is a Christmas party, but they were also celebrating a big sale, so that party could have been at any other time of the year.
Yeah, fair enough.
You could bring your kids gifts at any time of the year. You don't need a reason, dads. Be a better dad, McClane.
Right.
Yeah, there was Christmas music and all that. But,
and Christmas hats and Christmas lights and ho ho ho.
Yeah, you can make lights out of anything. People wear hats all the time.
Right.
So I declare.
Fair enough.
I declare that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie just because I wanted to disagree.
Okay, fair enough. So we're split. We have we agreed on Gremlins,
yes,
and we agreed on Trading Places.
Yes.
So for some reason we agreed on my movies, but we disagreed on yours. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Because I came in with attitude, my friend.
Right.
And remember, I'm also sick and hopped up at goofballs.
Oh, that's right.
Now.
I forgot. I forgot you're sick.
Yeah. So I'm right because I'm sick. And I also, as I've been looking at you for the last 15 minutes, all I see are swirling colors.
Right. Lucky for you, though, I'm trying out a new light or eyeshadow.
And all I see are the lips from the Rocky Horror Picture talking
right,
for the cover of that movie.
Well, I am dressed like Gold Dust for this episode. That may have something to do with what you're seeing.
That would explain a lot.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, that also puts a wrap on the 2022 calendar year.
It does.
Which means next week...
That's me blowing a party favor.
Either that or calling for a Ricola, one of the two.
Ricola!
We will be back next week to kick off January 2023 with a new theme. Next month's theme is sequels that are better than the original.
Yes.
Where we will be, it's a 4-week month again, so we will be looking at 4 movies that we believe are better than the original in that respective film series.
And in a couple of cases, the original was pretty darn good.
Yeah, very good.
In a couple of cases here.
3 of the 4.
Yeah, I would argue 3 of the 4, the original is really good.
Yeah. But this just takes it up a notch.
Mm-hmm.
Bam, as Emerald would say.
Or Wolfgang.
Yeah, big fans of Emerald Lagasse here. So, but yeah, we will be back next month, next week and next month for sequels better than the original, where we kick off the first week with Thor Ragnarok, the sole movie next month that there's no denying is better than its original.
Yeah. And I will say, we've been doing this for well over a year now, and this is our first MCU movie.
It is. We've done well, because you and I are both big MCU fans.
Yes, and we've been patient. We
actually, you took one out, because we had Iron Man 3 originally in this month's lineup, but we took it out.
Yep. Yeah.
And I had Ant-Man 2 in mockumentary month, but I took it out.
In mockumentary month.
Yeah.
Yes, next week, Thor Ragnarok. One of my top 2 favorite MCU movies.
Oh, I do love this movie. Yeah. This and Guardians of the Galaxy are the 2 movies that I could jump into at any point that they're on TV and just be satisfied. There are others that it's like, I'm not in the mood to watch that right now, but Guardians and Thor Ragnarok, if they're on, I'm excited.
I would agree with you there, my friend.
So, all right. Well, social media-wise, we're everywhere we were last week. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can catch us on Patreon if you're in the holiday giving spirit.
If you want to chip into the holiday season, wink, wink. Leave a little couple extra coins in our stockings. Check out that Patreon.
And if you don't, that's fine. We're still going to give you a weekly episode anyway.
Begrudgingly.
But you're not going to hear this till after Christmas, but we hope you all had a great Christmas and a happy holiday season. And we will continue our Yuletide, blah, blah, blah. I do want to...
that's one of my favorite holiday songs, by the way. Yuletide, blah, blah, blah.
And Nat King Cole.
Yep. Yeah. What a crooner. He could really belt out Yuletide, blah, blah, blah.
It's not Nat King. It was Gary Cole. Gary Cole. Yuletide, blah, blah, blah.
Come on, Gary Coleman.
Yeah, just Gary Cole.
Just Gary Cole.
So, but I want to wish you happy birthday too.
Oh, and I want to wish you a belated happy birthday as well.
Well, technically, this is a belated one to you when this goes out.
When this airs,
but still, yeah. But happy birthday to you, and happy birthday to Jesus, and happy birthday to anybody else who's been forgotten in these 60-plus episodes we've been doing this show. But no, so for Let's Talk About Flicks, we will see you next week with Thor Ragnarok. You want to send us out with anything?
Oh.
Now that I left you awkwardly sitting there.
We'll go in reverse order here. I'm Curtis.
I'm Miles. I'm Oz. Oh, it really threw me off.
I'm also Curtis. We'll see you next week, folks.
Supplemental income? All right. Let's stare at the camera and both say goodbye on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Goodbye.